At the heart of this debate are women placed in what is often the most difficult situation of their lives. And it is important that whenever we discuss this issue, we do so with as much compassion and understanding for them as possible. And with that in mind, I endeavour to contribute to this debate without any animosity for those who I know hold distinctly different views from my own pro-life views, in which I believe that the unborn child has an equal place in this debate to be considered too. But I also believe it's vital that we endeavour to debate in an atmosphere of courtesy and respect. The Honourable Member for Walthamstow said yesterday in this House, in applying for the debate, it is little wonder that the United Nations has said we must act. That's a very powerful statement. Now, if she's based it on an inquiry report of February this year of a UN committee, I'd like to make some comments on that. I'm sure that following the debate she could clarify if there is more authority, but that committee was considering the Convention on Elimination of Discrimination Against Women, CEDAW. Now, the committee's inquiry report has been cited by campaigners as one of the main justifications for reviewing Northern Irish abortion law. Yet, as I understand it, that committee doesn't have any capacity or standing to give a binding adjudication on the UK's obligations under that convention, nor does it have any authority to interpret that convention. That is something reserved to the International Court of Justice. And so an invitation to the Home Secretary to treat that report as authoritative is, I understand, and I'm quoting the opinion of Mark Hill QC, flawed. It's also interesting to note that, if I've read it correctly, the UK government has commented on this report too and said in one of its concluding paragraphs, after reviewing the report and pointing out several factual inaccuracies in it, that for the reasons outlined above, the UK government does not accept that women from Northern Ireland have been subject to grave and systematic violations of their rights under the Convention, and concludes, I quote, "The committee's findings and recommendations which focus on changes to the criminal law on abortion cannot be addressed in the absence of a legislature with authority to legislate on such matters in Northern Ireland." And I invite the Minister to consider this, or the ministers who will consider this. I'm sure they're already aware of that statement, but it is something I profoundly disagree with as disrespectful to the people of Northern Ireland on such a sensitive issue that this Parliament should consider changing laws which would affect abortion. Abortion which has been a transferred matter, as have health and social services, equal opportunities and justice. So I turn now to another comment made by the Honourable Member for Walthamstow in her opening remarks, which related to the Infant Life Preservation Act 1929. And I would ask ministers if they would look into this and obtain legal opinion for the House, because it's a very important issue. As I understand it, and this issue is complex, the Infant Life Preservation Act 1929 and the Abortion Act were decoupled in the 1990s by the Human Fertilisation and Embryology Act. And this means that those two acts bear no relation to one another anymore, so that the Abortion Act's safeguards would in fact be removed if the OAPA sections are repealed as proposed by the proposers of this debate. And as I say, it is such a complex issue, and that's the advice I've had, that I think it is worthwhile asking ministers to look into this very carefully. Because the campaigners, the proposers of this debate clearly want to go further. They want to decriminalise our legislation, to remove the safeguards that have been in place. Already we have some of the most liberal abortion laws in the world, and yet campaigners want to, I believe, liberalise them further. Anna Furedi, Chief Executive of BPAS, has said, "I want to be very clear, there should be no legal upper limit. Colleagues should be under no illusions. Repealing these sections of the OAPA would effectively pave the way to review comprehensively our current abortion legislation, not just for Northern Ireland, but also for England and Wales. We could see abortion on demand throughout pregnancy, That would be wrong, and we should resist it.